Oh hey, didn't see you there. I was just actively trying to get your attention to these new threads I'm wearing. Pretty cool, don't you think? And guess what? I didn't have to pay a single penny. Yeah, all I had to do was use this piece of plastic I found in my mum's purse and I could get literally anything I wanted. The only thing I can think of that could be better than this would be to just get virtual things that don't have any intrinsic value whatsoever other than looking different to other people. It is way too hot. I regret this so much.
You ever see a character and think to yourself, twinsies? Well, with the magic of video games, it's now possible to create yourself in whatever way you would like. Look, I made you! Character creation is something we're all pretty familiar with, and it's a form of player expression. If your game does something that gives the player some kind of freedom, then you would have most likely given them this feeling of expression. Whether that would be a character creator, or a skill tree, or just the freedom to explore the world at their own pace. However, for this video, I want to mainly focus on one of those things, that being character creation or character customization. That being said, it's time for your obligatory history lesson!
The first implementation of a character creator was sometime... The first implementation of a character creator was in 1974. Now this was straight in my mind, and I didn't have to Google it whatsoever.
Dungeons and Dragons, specifically the Plato version, which is oh well, it's a philosopher apparently. While it was revolutionary to have one of the first RPGs and the first character creations in video game history, can you really call this character customization? Sure, back in the day, character creation would refer to creating your very own character based on a set of skills, maybe having your own race and class too. They were pretty much the standard with games like D&D and 1988's Pool of Radiance, but none of them capture the physical changes of your character, and as a result, you never know if they're sexy or not.
So here's a question. You ever want to see yourself wearing a spandex?
My earliest and only memory of the WWE games was when my cousins and I would play SmackDown Here Comes the Pain on PS2. While I remember playing here and there, my cousins definitely played the game a lot more, to the point where they created their very own wrestlers.
And they were pretty cool wrestlers, I won't lie. I did my absolute best to recreate them, and I hope I did well. I haven't actually done it yet, so I might have been very shy at it. Let's find out.
I was originally going to just show the final product, but I wanted to showcase how absolutely in-depth the character creation is in SmackDown. Like, goddamn, there's so much to tinker with. I mean, just look at how many variations there are for all the different clothes, and you can make yourself Super Saiyan if you wanted to. I'm really impressed with how much you can customize in this game, and it's all available right from the start, with various unlockables you can try and get simply by playing the game.
Wait, is that Simon Cowell?
It's honestly pretty awesome to have. Oh, whoops, my finger slipped. And now we have paid DLC to unlock certain wrestlers and costumes and maps. My bad. But I mean, hey, you can still create Goku in the new game, so I guess life's still worth living. I don't know what that tangent was, but let's get back on topic, alright?
Now, while character creation was mainly prominent in RPGs at the time, such as D&D, Pool of Radiance, The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim for the Atari 2600, let's face it, Todd Howard is thinking about that, the creation feature was sprinkling around into many different shapes and forms to encompass many games of many genres. One of those genres being fighting games and the inclusion of different color palettes for each fighter.
What's pretty interesting about the palette swap feature is that before it was used purely as a cosmetic thing, it was actually used to save a ton of space because you could essentially reuse an already existing asset rather than creating an entirely new thing. You might have remembered how the Cloud sprite and the Bush sprite in Super Mario Bros. Were basically the same sprite, just colored differently. Well, did you know that the sprites for Scorpion, Sub-Zero and Reptile in the original Mortal Kombat were also just the same sprite but colored differently?
And now that we no longer have to worry about storage space or hardware limitations, we can now get the classic skins as unlockable features in the newer games? Man, the feature's pretty cool, you know?
Like with many things, what used to be a product of hardware limitations turned into an addition of the game. And these different palettes have become widespread in almost every fighting game. Most likely because they gave people the additional option to just pick their fighter in their preferred color. And that's the key word here. Preferred. Preference.
Being able to customize something to your own preference is what lets players express themselves however they want, and it's why it's so popular in RPGs where the goal is to be immersed and to roleplay.
You could create a character resembling yourself and play by making choices and decisions you would make, or you can play as an orc named Kyrak who's hell-bent on destruction and will always settle things with his fists. But he's also married and has a loving wife and daughter who he really cares for.
Nowadays, almost every game has some form of customization players can use to make their character or playstyle suit their preference. Spider-Man didn't need to have additional outfits. It's a single player game with a linear story. It would have done completely fine without it. But I'm almost positive that if you've played Spider-Man, you would have had a specific suit that you would have preferred. And that option of choice passively makes the game more tailored to you. Tailored to you just like the clothes you're wearing, because it's what you chose.
What's interesting to think about is that from what I studied in game theory, no, not that one, is that when talking about player expression, there's usually a conversation around creating avatars or character creation, more so than there is one about character customization, where, you can customize certain aspects about your character regardless of whether you create them or not. And while these two are quite similar in many ways, and character customization complements character creation greatly, they're also kind of two sides of the same coin.
What I mean by that is that while the character creation itself is usually a feature included in RPGs and some other genres here and there, character customization, which complements greatly with character creation, is way more widespread in a variety of genres, and you'll mainly find them in competitive multiplayer games, simply because of, how well you can monetize them.
Companies have certainly been constantly trying to get as much money from you as they can, and one thing they've stuck with in recent years is microtransactions.
After all, why bother to put the time and effort into creating different skins for outfits or weapons for the player to unlock in the game itself, when you can make them unlock it using their wallet? We've sort of hit a middle ground when it comes to microtransactions, and some people are generally okay with having it be for something that's only cosmetics, rather than having a game be pay to win. But it's kind of disappointing if you think about how this all used to be free, and it's slowly becoming the norm in today's age, especially with the rapid popularity of online games over the years, because let's face it, at the end of the day, people just want to flex on each other.
But what if you were to take the practices of those companies who put microtransactions in multiplayer games for single player games? Well, that would be pretty scummy, but luckily no one does that.
Aside from allowing the player to express themselves by giving them outfits to wear or a character to create, the concept of player expression can cover a whole wide area, like at least bigger than my hand.
Giving them the freedom to create their very own party with multiple characters, or having them make their own village on an island, or just creating whatever the heck they want in Minecraft, I don't know. This video would be so much longer if I included all those topics.
Anything a game does that gives the player a choice ultimately gives them a chance to express themselves onto it. Adding your own flair to something naturally gives you a different experience to someone who's doing the same thing. And if that isn't a magical thing, I don't know what is. Except space, that's pretty magical. To end this video off, please make Super Saiyan wrestlers a real thing. Thank you, God bless.